Is it actually going to happen? Are the Miami Heat, is Pat Riley going to make the swing and trade for 37-year-old Kevin Durant this upcoming offseason? Well, Bleacher Report put together predictions for the top 5 trade candidates in the NBA this offseason and actually made the prediction that KD would end up in Miami. And before we talk about what they said and what I think about all of this, do you want the Heat to trade for Kevin Durant? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I actually do want to know the thoughts of everybody in the comments, so take advantage and go let me know what your thoughts are on about KD coming to Miami. But I wanted to display what Bleacher Report said right away. And he said the Rockets and Spurs have the assets to go after Durant, but both should be prioritizing younger stars to grow with their cores. Durant will turn 37 in September before the season. New York is low on draft picks after the Mikal Bridges deal and shouldn't be in a hurry to shake up what's become a strong starting 5 led by Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns. That leaves the Timberwolves and Heat as the most likely destinations, although one should be far more desperate than the other. They were referring to Miami because they obviously got swept in the first round, and then they made the prediction that Kevin Durant is traded to the Miami Heat. And I wanted to share my thoughts on this little blurb from Bleacher Report. Do I agree with them? Well, I do to a certain degree, right? Like the first couple teams they mentioned in San Antonio and Houston. I think the Rockets should probably make a play on KD. I know he's 37. I know they have a super young core. But if they want to try to capitalize on the inexpensive contracts of their younger players right now, why not go out and grab Durant, who can be the leading scorer, be the mentor for Amen Thompson, for Alperen Şengün in these big moments? So I could see Houston going and grabbing KD. I agree with them with the Knicks. The Knicks are likely, if they do try to shake things up, they're probably going to go big game hunting potentially for Giannis and trade both Cat and Mikal potentially for Giannis Antetokounmpo. But when you compare the Heat and Timberwolves, I think the T-Wolves could easily go out and grab Durant, but I do expect Miami to register interest in the long-term All-NBA type of player pretty consistently here. And I think when you trade for KD, you do have to understand that you have to extend him due to his contract situation. We mentioned the age. Kevin Durant's going to be 37 in September, so he'll be 37 years old entering this season. He has one more year on his contract. It's guaranteed at $54.7 million. And then he is an unrestricted free agent following this upcoming season. So if you trade for Kevin Durant, you either have to understand you are getting him for one season or you are extending Kevin Durant. And that's my question to the Miami Heat front office. If you are willing to trade for KD, are you willing to extend him? Because you didn't extend Jimmy Butler, who's 1 year younger than Kevin Durant. Now, I do want to make this abundantly clear. I know and believe that Kevin Durant is a better player than Jimmy Butler at this stage. And I believe that KD is a tier above him. Like, Jimmy's not going out there and averaging 26, 6, and 4 in the regular season on 50% shooting and 42% shooting from 3. Like, Jimmy's not doing that. But Jimmy's a better leader, a better defensive player. And obviously, KD has had a little bit of a tougher time staying healthy lately, but over the most part, he does play more games than Jimmy Butler. So that is a decision the front office would have to be faced with. Now, what contract is KD eligible for? Well, according to John Gambadero, who covers the Suns over in Phoenix, Durant this upcoming offseason can sign a 2-year extension worth approximately $120 million that would keep him under contract through 27-28. So we showed KD's contract $54.7 million this year. If you trade for Durant, you could give him a 2-year Supermax extension before he turns 38 and have him under contract for this year plus 2 more years at $54, $58, and $62 million in 3 straight seasons. And, well, that might scare some people because, yeah, I understand you're giving a 37-year-old unbelievable money, like $120 million over 2 years, and you have him under contract until he's 39, which I get it, is very, very scary. But as I mentioned, last year he played in 60-plus games, averaged 26 points a night, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and shot extremely efficient from the field. So if you have concerns of him declining on the offensive end, I think you should put those to rest. Durant's game does not rely on athleticism and beating you off the dribble. KD is a marksman, and because of his 6'10 frame, his long wingspan, and his jump shot mechanics, he just rises over the top of you and doesn't have to beat you with athleticism and leaping ability. So, yes, I think his offense will translate over the last 3 seasons, potentially, of his career. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel because we put out daily content here at the Heat Report. We discuss hypotheticals, rumors, news, the whole 9 yards around the Miami Heat. Daily content all off season long. Join me and 22,000 other Miami Heat fans here at the channel. The decision that would have to be made as well when it comes to Kevin Durant is, are you trying to win now or are you trying to rebuild the roster? Because we have seen now over the last 2 years, Tyler Herro and Bam Adebayo be the best 2 players on the Heat's roster in a playoff series. They got swept in historic fashion against the Cavs this year. And then in 2024, when they had Jimmy and Terry Rozier out due to injuries, they lost in 5 games to the Celtics. So are you going to try to rebuild and add a player to Bam and Herro, or are you going to try to reset the entire roster? And here's the decision. Are you trying to win now in the next 3 seasons, or are you trying to set yourself up for the next 8 to 10? Because if you're trying to win now, that is where you trade for Kevin Durant and add KD to Bam and Herro. You create a quote-unquote trio in big 3 of KD as your leading guy, Herro is your number 2 offensively, and Bam number 3 on the offensive end, which is probably the right role for Adebayo in a winning setting, but he is still your lead guy defensively. If you're trying to set yourself up better for the next 8 to 10 years, you do not trade your assets one bit for Durant. But if Pat Riley, who's 80-plus years of age, wants to try to go out with a championship before he retires in the next 3 seasons, well then, yeah, you probably make the deal and grab KD if you can this offseason. We'll look at what a trade can look like here in a second. But we are sponsored by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy sports platform I play every single day. And if you want to get in on the playoff action in basketball, well, now's your opportunity. Don't miss out on the last chance, whether it's points, rebounds, assists. Take your pick of more or less for your shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash today. You can turn your playoff hot takes into tickets to basketball's championship series. Every lineup you make on PrizePicks will enter you into the Takes the Ticket sweepstakes, which could get you and a +1 a VIP trip to the ship. You can mix and match basketball, hockey, baseball, golf, esports, and much more. You can play daily, season-long. Heck, you could play even series-long in basketball playoffs. And that's what I did with the Knicks Celtics series. I took more than Jalen Brunson points per game, more than Kristaps Porzingis points per game, which is cooked, by the way, and less than Mikal Bridges points per game. Now, I don't feel good about this entry one bit, but it's just another example of how you can play. So join me and the millions of others on PrizePicks. Download the app and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. I asked just a second ago, are you trying to win now? Or are you trying to preserve your future? I want probably the future more than win. I mean, listen, because there's no guarantee you win a championship. It's just more about, do you turn in your assets for Kevin Durant, or do you try to hold down the line and rebuild, get more assets for a bigger star to come available that's more younger, like a Giannis or a Anthony Edwards or someone like that in the next 2 to 3 seasons. I'll say this. I'm willing to roll the dice and trade for KD. I will. I understand, and maybe y'all should do this too, that Pat Riley's probably got 3 years left of being president maximum. And maybe he retires sooner. I'm willing to roll the dice and trade for his whale, a guy in Kevin Durant that he has tried to get in free agency and on the trade market 3 different times over the last decade. 2016, 2019, 2022, and he tried to do it at the deadline, so 4 times. I'm willing to roll the dice and see if you could finally land your whale to try to get Riley a championship before he retires. So if you're doing that, this is the trade that I would throw out there. I think this is what would make a lot of sense. You trade Andrew Wiggins, Nikola Jovic, Duncan Robinson to match KD's $54.7 million salary, and you offer up 2 first-round picks. Now, I'm giving him the 20th overall pick in this year's draft via Golden State, and I'll offer one of our 2 futures because you do have 2030 and 2032 tradable on draft night. 2030, I'll make that top 10 protected just in case it goes awry for Miami. So the Suns in this hypothetical get a KD replacement in Wiggins, who's probably valued at a first-round pick. Nikola Jovic, who I think has a first-round pick value, young forward that has a lot of upside in shooting, playmaking, rebounding IQ. And they get 2 first-round picks, one in this draft and one in 2030. I think that's very fair for Phoenix to get back. Could the Heat get outbid? Yeah, they could get outbid, but this is probably as strong as an offer as I would be willing to make if I'm the Miami Heat. And if you do acquire Kevin Durant in a trade this offseason, it solves a lot of your offensive issues, man. What did we see late in the year and in the playoffs? You needed more from your wings. Andrew Wiggins was bad in the playoffs, man. He was. And the jokes were out there. It was like, wow, the Heat team is actually pretty solid. They're like a Jimmy Butler away from being competitive. And I get the jokes because it is pretty funny. But you add KD, who's actually a better offensive player, creator, playmaker, whole 9 yards than Jimmy. Well, then now you have a dangerous team. And in this hypothetical world where you made that trade I just showcased, you probably re-signed Davion Mitchell as he's a restricted free agent this upcoming summer. You now have a starting lineup that could be Davion Mitchell, Tyler Herro, Kevin Durant, Bam Adebayo, and Khalil Ware. That is a very competitive team. That is a roster that has a solid balance of defensive versatility in the front court and offensive versatility as well in Herro, KD, and Bam. And here's the thing that could even make it even more scary for Miami. You kept Khalil Ware in this trade. The 15th pick in 2024 showed a lot of promise on the defensive end and offensive end with his ability to rim run, lob threat, space the floor, and his ability to deter shots at the rim with his athleticism and 7'4 wingspan. If you get a Khalil Ware jump in terms of adding 10, 15 pounds of muscle in the offseason, improving as a jump shooter, improving his defensive rotations, his motor, comes back more locked in and motivated for a yearly basis. If you get a jump from Khalil Ware, not asking him to be an all-star, asking him to be an above-average starter, with KD, Herro, Davion, and Bam, that could arguably be the best starting group in the Eastern Conference. It would be in there with the likes of Boston, Cleveland, New York. I truly mean that because that's how good KD is. Herro is a first-time All-Star. We know Bam is a multi-time All-Star and a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. And like I mentioned, if you get the Khalil Ware jump, that is a massive question mark, but would be necessary for the Heat to potentially win a title with a KD, Bam, Herro-led team. You're not winning a championship, in my opinion, unless Ware took that jump up to an above-average starter level. And that will take me to this question before we wrap up today's show. If the Heat acquired KD, I want to know what your thoughts on the ceiling of a KD, Bam, Herro-led team is. Do you think it's the finals? Do you think it's the conference finals? Do you think it's a NBA championship? What's the ceiling? Let me know your thoughts down below. It's hard to project. I think the ceiling would probably be an NBA Finals team. I think they could get there. I don't know if they would be able to win it, but they could get there because we saw it happen with Jimmy, and I think KD can do a lot of the same things for Miami that Jimmy did in terms of leading the offense in the playoff moments. Defense, obviously not so much, but it's a top 4 team in the East. It would be right there with Cleveland. It'd be right there with the Celtics, the Knicks, the Pacers. It'd be a top 5 team in the East without a question. And as I mentioned, the true ceiling of the team that we just showcased is fully dependent on how much of a leap Khalil Ware could take. If he takes a massive leap in year 2, you can compete next year for a title. If you don't get that big jump, well, then you're still a second-round playoff team, but limited. It's all about Khalil. Maybe he takes the jump this offseason. Maybe he takes a jump from year 2 to year 3, and it's the 2026-2027 season where you're competing for an NBA championship. But to me, if you made this deal for KD, the team would be a lot of fun. It would be a competitive playoff team, but the full ceiling is all dependent on Khalil Ware. All right, that'll do it for this episode of the Heat Report. Make sure you are subscribed for daily content around the Miami Heat. We will have you covered with draft stuff and everything in between. So join the channel today.